live worldwide, and you can listen to the Nutrimedical report. And I'm going to be making sure we have that updated number. We changed our listen live number, and our board op, I guess, will be sending that information over to me, so we'll make certain it's the same one we have on our site. That was apparently there was some trouble with the older number of people calling in worldwide and wanting to listen to the program. We also have, of course, the MP3s, the podcasts, all kinds of ways of listening, and there's no charge for listening to the program. It's all free. And if you're a customer, you have access, and a customer means you've purchased any product, just one product within 6 months. You can get a phone call consult back. If you're even a non-customer, you can email anytime, anywhere, and get a quick response. If you require a consult because you have a complex problem and need a history form, I have a consultation for phone and email. They're available at a charge, and you'll see those under our consult list under the page 2 or product line list. Again, to repeat the announcement I did in first hour, we have a series we call products that we've kind of taken off our main line list, but it's under specials. And Ageless Energize you can order, but you have to order a 6-pack only. The same with Combine Flavorless. The flavored, we have lots of the single. And the NutriComplete, if you want to order NutriComplete, again, it's a 6-pack. So we have those available. We have other products we have as well that we're going to be introducing. We remove products from our main line if we feel that really a 6-pack is necessary, because only certain individuals like to order those particular products. I want to continue going over xenoestrogen detox. If you're trying to, we, for example, worry about sperm count in males nowadays. We worry about toxins causing breast cancer. Xenoestrogen detox and NutriDefense are the most important. In fact, besides Nutridyne, NutriDefense is probably the number one nutraceutical. I personally designed it to have the most powerful effect on natural killer cell activity, blocking free iron for pathogen entry, disrupting all DNA and RNA viruses, and boosting the immune system tremendously. And it kills off DNA and RNA viruses, boosts your NK killer cell activity, and has the most powerful antioxidant of all of our nutraceuticals and Nutrimedical, which is the anhydrous polyphenol. Next would be the goji berry and NutriComplete, and the other would be, of course, Omega Supreme Krill. Krill oil is extremely important for protecting your brain and heart. So we have Omega Supreme Krill, the only krill oil that has that. We have, of course, Vitamin Mineral Max and Minerals Plus. These are basics. Some people asked the other day, we had a gentleman ask from Alabama, Russ, what are our core things? I'd say Vitamin Mineral Max, Minerals Plus, and probably Omega Supreme to get the proper fatty acids. And, of course, you're getting all the activated forms of all the vitamins and minerals. We have Vision Max for protecting your eye. We have Vascu Care, Propionyl L-carnitine for mitochondria, for your heart, vascular, brain, and your muscles throughout your body. Of course, we're trying to increase nitric oxide. You want to take Supernox. I recommend a high nitrate diet, which would be get some beet juice or beet juice powder. Take that along with our that, and also take BioLVR, Superfolate, Power Methyl B12, and Semethyl to increase your levels of tetrahydrobiopterin. For your brain, if you've got a child with autism or a person who's trying to improve their memory, we have Cognition Plus and Brain Power. We also have Synaptin, which we add to that. For increasing brain activity, we recommend ultrathymine B1, uridine monophosphate 300 milligrams, and CDP or cytidine choline. It's the cholinergic pathways that are deficient in people, adults that have autism or Asperger's syndrome, and we can correct that pretty quickly with the DAN protocol, which is to use ultrathymine B1, CDP choline, and uridine monophosphate, and that increases that activity. The Synaptin is interesting. It's a much smaller capsule, very powerful. We've had it here for years at Nutrimedical, and it really is complementary to the Cognition Plus and Brain Power. The uridine, which is triacyleuridine, is one of our formula we use along with mitochondrial catalysts for boosting mitochondrial function, along with the ultrathymine B1. And by the way, if you're diabetic and want to protect your blood vessels, you want to take ultrathymine B1, carnosine, and Nutritrala. Those are the three biggies, and Regenerex, that's going to protect your arteries, and cell detox glutathione to stop the hydroxyl and nitroperoxy radical. We have the Swedish flower pollen, which stops bladder irritability because it works as an alpha-1 blocker. So don't take the drug the doctors give. Use the Swedish flower pollen and bladder up. And, of course, a lot of people that have chronic low-grade infections, I'd recommend the Allison Med and a Nutriodine, and also we, of course, have our Silver 100. Silver 100, very powerful ionic silver formula, and we have the right integration with protocols. You can use it to brush your teeth with Silver 100. You can put it in your nasal with a vertical nasal spray. You can use it orally to stop asthma and kill off the rhinovirus subclass 3 virus and stop inflammation in your lungs. For hair loss, we recommend Recidival and Collagen Max. And the Recidival Hair Tonic is amazing for regenerating hair. We'll often add to that Collagen Max and Mountain Red Velvet if someone is not responding within the first month. And, of course, the hormone synergy that prevents a male hormone or female hormone being converted to male. So for women that are getting hair balding, we often recommend adding the hormone synergy. For men with prostate issues, we recommend Prostate Flow, 1 to 2 soft gels twice a day. Hormone Synergy, Men's Max to release male hormone. Then decrease DHEA and pregnenolone to increase male hormone levels, which would be 2 to 3 DHEA or 25 milligrams. You can go up to 4 or more based on if you're doing a saliva or a test to look at the free unbound hormone. And 100 milligrams of pregnenolone in the morning. And, of course, we also have the Enhanced for Men, which is a special formula to increase hormone production, but you got to make certain your blood pressure is under control when you add the Enhanced for Men. And that means that you are taking our Cardiovasc, Supernox, Gamma E+, magnesium glycinate, magnesium taurate, etc. Omega Supreme to try to normalize your vascular activity. The Nutrimune is our special immunoglobulin, and it literally coats your respiratory GI tract. It boosts your immune system, and it helps actually if you were to take this at a proper dosage, which is 4 capsules twice a day. It's equivalent to IVIG. So all these children that they're saying need to be protected when they're in public areas that have immune functions, they've had cancer, chemotherapy, like this child that was witnessing before the commission here on forced vaccinations to the rest of the population. The child should have simply been taking Nutrimune, which is equivalent to IVIG, intravenous immunoglobulin, which is very expensive. It costs about $250,000 a year if you take the IV form. This is a tiny fraction of it. A 120 capsules is $49.95 for Nutrimune, and basically head-to-head studies, it's equivalent. We get a lot of people with chronic fatigue, and we tell people got to get rid of their cytokines, high-dose Power C, I call histamine cytokinase. It used to be called Allergon. We still have it under the name Allergon, but I'm going to change the name to describe because it has a histaminase enzyme that gets rid of histamine and blocks other cytokines. So it's really important. I call histamine cytokinase. Is very important to block that and to stabilize the cell membranes, curcumin, which is cell defense, and of course to turn off the free radicals, cell detox, glutathione, Nutritella, and Regenerex. And carnosine. Carnosine gets rid of singlet oxygen radicals. The Nutritella regenerates your fat and water soluble. Regenerex turns on the genes, and the cell detox glutathione gets rid of hydroperoxy radical and nitroperoxy radical. So we have a comprehensive set of nutraceuticals that will block those. Narival is very good for chronic fatigue, and once we get rid of the cytokines to improve your energy. And of course, we carry also Neovasc for lowering the triglyceride levels. So if someone has fatty liver, elevated lipid disorders, we use leptin metabolic. We'll use Neovasc and, of course, cod liver liquid to lower cholesterol. So cod liver liquid for cholesterol and raising HDL, and Neovasc for lowering triglycerides and raising HDL as well. We have what's called the Myco D2, which is our oncomycin, special blend and potency of vitamin D2, and ergothioneine for tissue regeneration. So if you're trying to regenerate any solid organ, if you're trying to activate your bones, create increased bone strength and density, you want to use Myco D2 along with Micelle D3, which is a D3. So we use a D3 and D2, along with full vitamin K2 and the bone generator. And bone generator is Argentinian BSc proven hydroxyapatite bone crystals, which is 7 water molecules, 2-to-1 ratio of calcium to magnesium, and it has trace amounts of silica, boron, and manganese. So this is the only form you want to take of calcium for building bones, along with Collagen Max, and may need to add tendon mender and Mountain Red Velvet. So if you're trying to build bone, you want to build the rebar inside the bone first. Back in a moment. Here's your question. Jay here, Jay Newman, talking about Silver 100. Jay, we wanted to talk about very specific the chemistry. Silver 100 is basically a ionic form of silver, not a nanoparticle or colloidal, in suspension with citrate, which means it's going to cross the blood-brain barrier, cross through biofilm, it's going to cross through tissues, and it doesn't interact and just get neutralized by proteins or stomach acid, etc., which it would be even if you're creating ionic silver just from nanoparticles of colloidal. The unique chemistry means it's going to be very powerful. So you have three ways of delivery. We have the dropper bottle, which I recommend for eye care. We have the vertical nasal for sinus problems, and we also have the spray that's used for inhalation and also for brushing your teeth with Silver 100. I often tell people if you want to have good periodontal health, what you do is after you've used your Hydro Floss and you've used your Sonicare toothbrush with ultraviolet light and so on, brush your teeth just with Silver 100. It's amazing for periodontal health. So the chemistry, let's talk about chemistry only. What makes it so unique compared to every other form of silver? Because it's hundreds of times stronger because it's the only lethal or we call stem cell form of silver, isn't it?
I'll say that again about stem cell form.
Well, the stem cell form, in other words, if we use it in burn units, we have over 100 years, and you use silver sulfadiazine in the burn unit, we slather people up after they've had really bad second-degree burns and they start regenerating their skin. It turns out silver is a noble metal that actually stimulates stem cells to regenerate.
There's no question, yeah. Well, see, this is the thing, Dr. Deagle, and as you know, and I'm just clarifying to the listeners in our conversation here, all silver products, whether it's that silver sulfadiazine cream that used to be sold under a brand name Silvadene until it went off patent, which is still, for decades, the number one thing used in burn centers. And you're right, they trowel it on, quarter-inch thick layers over the burns on the whole body, because it not only is antibacterial and we now know antiviral, but also it incurs the creation of dedifferentiated stem cells like nothing in the world. Silver ions in general are doing these bioactive tasks, and this is what's the bottom line and why Silver 100 is light years ahead of anything else in the field. It is the result of 10 years and $1 million in development to do one thing only, and that is drastically improve the efficiency with which silver ions are delivered to the human body, primarily internally and secondarily topically, because internally is the huge challenge, because silver in the metallic, ordinary, elemental, atomic state is inert and useless, and it turns out the overwhelming majority of the silver in colloidal silver is in that state, and now it's very well known by so much science, it's everywhere, that except if you go to the other manufacturers and listen to their hype, which has gotten dramatically, it's a circus act, it's a wild, wild west of nonsense. And I mean, I speak to doctors and lay people every day who I have to, you know, kind of like, it's like taking somebody out of a cult and you know, reincorporating them into society and getting them out of the brainwashing. And without fail, 100% of the time, when an intelligent person gets me on the phone and looks at our website and goes through the materials, they go, oh, now I understand. So these claims about nanoparticles and smaller particles and colloidal and hydrocolloidal, it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. What matters is only one thing. That is that. Sorry, I have a call waiting beep coming in. You caught me when I wasn't expecting to be on the air, so just ignore the gaps. All that matters is one thing with any silver product: delivering silver ions to the body. With colloidal silver, most of it is inert metal, and the little bit of silver ions that's in it is actually in a form of silver oxide, which is really bad, just like the word colloidal is really bad when you talk about delivering a mineral that's bioactive to the body. All minerals that are essential nutrients for the body have to be in the ionic state to have any biological interaction with the life processes of the body, including silver. But these silver ions are very unstable and will be grabbed by chlorides, as you said initially, and form silver chloride and be neutralized without time release. So the silver oxide in colloidal silver is not soluble, just like the colloidal particle. It's not able to separate and release the components, parts you need, which is what colloidal means, and insoluble silver oxide. So that's the problem there, is almost none of it is ionic in colloidal silver, no matter what they say. Marketing claims go all over the map, but that's the fact.
And the proof is in the pudding. We give people the spray of silver, and what they do is they say, my asthma's gone away. I don't use my rescue inhaler. They use it for their nose, and their chronic sinuses and allergy season goes away. We tell them they put it over a burn, whether it's a sunburn or a physical burn, and their tissues heal. They just spray it. It's so that simple. We tell people to take it orally. In fact, I had a case about a little over a year ago of one of our ladies. Actually, her company takes care of our property or home and cleaning it every 2 weeks. And her father down in Mexico, so we would donate the money to fly them down there. They took a whole bunch of bottles of Silver 100. The doctors were so impressed in Mexico, they didn't give it orally. They actually set it up and put it through an IV. They gave the Silver 100 IV, and the man was in his late 80s. They thought, well, he's going to die overnight. He's an extremist. The next day he went home. He got better within hours. And we see these stories all the time. People start to get a bad gastroenteritis, asthma, chronic cold, flu, and they start taking massive doses of the Silver 100, and it's just gone within hours.
We need to clarify. Massive doses relative what the label says. Silver 100 has it only comes in a 2-ounce bottle. You want to talk
massive to me is like taking one spray per 10 pounds body weight 3 or 4 times a day. Which is high. It's not some 30 pounds of body weight. Maintenance would be like per 30 pounds of body weight. So you don't need to take a lot. For example, I give my daughter every night when she goes to bed, I give her some sprays of silver just before she hits the sack, which not only prevents periodontal disease, it prevents her from getting a cold when she's out with her friends or bringing home viruses home. So the dosages we talk about massive are teeny, because these bottles are only 2 ounces. We're not talking about gallon bottles anymore.
And the other companies make gallon bottles and tell you to take tablespoons at a time. This is the point. The only difference between Silver 100 and all the other products is you use a tiny infinitesimal amount of Silver 100 to get much more bioactive silver ion delivered to the body. That's the only difference. It's much more economical, much safer, and much more effective, and that's the bottom line. So that's why it gets the results it gets.
Yeah, and it's, as I say, one of our 3 biggies: Nutrimedical, Allison Med, and Silver 100. So, Jay, to me, this would be an ideal marriage with, say, dentistry. I just went to my dentist yesterday, and I was getting the last bit of my mercury amalgams out and replacing with, zirconium porcelain. And I can tell you, the periodontists need to be using this. Instead of telling people just to brush with bicarbonate, they need to brush their teeth with Silver 100.
We have a lot of dentists who use it and swear by it.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. Thank you, stay right there. We'll get you rebooked, and we'll be back in a minute with our next segment. And coming up in hour number 3, Tim Alexander and our nuclear expert. And welcome back. We have Dr. Bob Dennis from MicroPulse. On the break, I was mentioning it's hard constantly teaching and struggling against the level of ignorance of the population. They often think that if something works, it's got to be really expensive, it's got to be complex, and it's got to be invasive or painful. And that's not the case. If you take the right signal and substance, which is signal meaning micropulse or lumen or whatever technology, but micropulse is the most portable, and you have the right substance, which are Nutrimeds, please do not wander around and get nutritional supplements elsewhere. You're not going to get the same quality or customized to your particular health condition, because we have the most advanced 7-star nutraceuticals on the planet, far more advanced than GNC or big box vitamins or Vitacost or Life Extension or Longevity or anything else are the Nutrimeds. But you need the right signal too, and that signal, for example, they discovered this in space. They found out when the astronauts went out in space, it wasn't just zero gravity, it was the lack of the Schumann resonance of the Earth that actually caused their body to start dysregulating the epigenetics of their genes. And the Russians were the first to do work on this. In fact, the Russian Space Agency, and I've got a number of documents going back to people like Dr. Nestorov and their team at the Nonlinear Institute of Psychophysiology, which is a nuclear institute. We want to call it Biophysics Institute in Russia, in Moscow. They've spun that off over the last 60 years to things like the Metatron, ATLRS, Bioplasm, QRMA, and other technology. And, of course, Dr. Bob, you've worked with people at Wake Forest University and other places where they create tissue, if you want to call it bioreactors, and you have to have the right, not only printing the tissue like you can print tubular organs right now, but you have to have the right signal as well to signal those stem cells. And that's why we talk about things like Silver 100, the extracellular matrix like Mountain Red Velvet. But that signal is an electromagnetic or scalar signal that actually entrains or makes the tissue, if in a sense, pick up energy and release it on a specific frequency range. And if you have the right frequencies, which are literally, how can I say it, copying some of the selective Schumann resonance frequencies of the planet Earth. The planet Earth actually makes a pulsatile frequency like a mother. That mother frequency literally allows your tissues to express your genes. And it's interesting, we as human beings couldn't go out into deep space or travel to other planets unless we bring that mother frequency with us. You've done that, and you've actually created an amplified mother frequency, I call the micropulse, and advanced it over the somopulse or other machines that are much more powerful magnetically, but don't have the elegance of the right frequency and the right pulse wave to cause the biological effects without any deleterious effects. So tell us a little bit about it, Dr. Bob, the research on, anti-aging, stem cell tissue regeneration, turning off pain, because when you fix the problem, the pain goes away. The micropulse is a solution, literally facing people right in the eye. So one of the things I found, we were able to track how many people are looky-loos that have gone over and looked at micropulse. The number of people who actually purchased is tiny compared to the number of that have been looking over there. Well, I have this problem, dear, my joints are shot, but I don't know, should I just get Dr. Deagle's supplements and not use the micropulse? Well, if you don't have the right supplements, the micropulse doesn't have anything to work with. But if you have the micropulse, the extent of your healing and how fast it's going to heal and the pain reduction is going to be far, far better with that simple little device. So tell us, Dr. Bob, how they work together, the signal and the substance.
Well, when I started doing this research for NASA as a consultant back in the late 1990s, and you and I have talked about this many times, my approach to it was one of really rather robust skepticism. So when we actually did the experiments, I insisted that they were done to the highest standard, which means, double-blind controls and a number of other things that you do, and to make sure that the results you get are something that's reliable. And we repeated the experiment, got the same results, and what we found is that a very narrow range of PEMF parameters, which includes things like frequency and waveform shape, but there's a bit more to it than that. Quite a bit more to it than that. In fact, I have a PEMF calculator online where anyone can go off of my webpage, micro-pulse.com, and calculate how many different types of PEMF there are. And if you use very reasonable numbers, you end up with 1 quadrillion. It's not a million, it's not a billion, it's not a trillion, it's 1,000 times a trillion. So there's 1 quadrillion different ways to do PEMF. And if you just take a wild guess, if you don't do the research, you're not going to guess right. I mean, you'd win the lottery, a million times before you guessed right on PEMF. So you got to do the science right. And that's what we started doing at NASA, and that's what I've done since then. But what we found at NASA was that if we used the right stimulus waveforms, we could induce gene expression for genes that promoted growth and differentiation of the cells that we were culturing. And we were culturing a cell line of human neural cells, and we were doing it in microgravity. Now, normally, as you know, microgravity has just the opposite effect on cells, especially mammalian cells in culture. You tend to not, you tend to get strange morphologies of the cells, but you certainly don't get a whole lot of growth and multiplication of stem cells. So that was the original research that we did, and we're able to modulate gene expression, cell morphology, colony shape, cell growth rate using these pulsed magnetic fields. But once again, you can't take a wild guess. And just as you said, your supplements are advanced, and there's a whole lot of supplements out there, but many of them are just, very primitive. And the same thing is true of PEMF. So the substance has got to be right. It can't just be any sort of thing that somebody grinds up and puts into a capsule. And the same thing is true for the signal. You can't just take a wild guess. You really have to know what you're doing, and it takes a lot of experimentation. It takes a lot of work. I've been working on it now for 20 years. So it's not like, this is just something that I've just started doing as a hobby. And the bottom line is, you can tell a lot by looking at the PEMF system. And you'd be, looking at the product, and it's excusable to think that, wow, the more dials and knobs that are on this device, the better it is, the more powerful it is. But that's absolutely wrong. a typical PEMF system that has a lot of adjustments on it where you have to set the frequency and all the other parameters, all that is that all that really tells you is that the manufacturer has been very lazy. They haven't even figured out for you what works. So what they're really saying to you is, yeah, there's 1 quadrillion different ways you could set this machine up. A few of them will work, but the vast majority won't. So go ahead, take a guess, and good luck with that. And so this is a case of signal quality, the not just the quality of the signal itself, but how well selected the signal has been with the right parameters built into it. When you buy one of our systems, it's essentially 0-button simple. You take it out of the box and you use it. Many people send me emails or give me phone calls and ask, well, how do I adjust the frequency? And I say to them, well, you don't want to adjust the frequency. It's already been optimized for you. It would be like if you bought a brand new car, but you had to adjust, the timing and all the things that are taken care of for you normally automatically by the internal microcontrollers. If you had to adjust all the shift points on the transmission and everything, it would drive you nuts because you could never drive the car. And it's the same thing with a good PEMF system. The better the system, the better it works, and the fewer adjustments there are. And it's, that's just the way that it is because the work has already been done for you. And that's what I've tried to deliver to the market with the ISIS Deagle technology. Take it out of the box, put in a battery, turn it on, and it works.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's amazing to me is how fast it takes away pain, stimulates healing and regeneration. You can put it anywhere. For example, you can use a little kind of soft headband, put it on either your temples, around your eyes to help your eyes heal from intraocular hypertension, post-traumatic concussions, people who had a hematoma in their brain because they had a head injury, sinus problems, periodontal disease, if you want to speed the healing of the tissues. There's nothing like a micropulse. It's almost like a universal, I call it a healing scalar Schumann resonance band-aid for almost anything. It's amazing. Check it out. Don't just be looky-loo. Get one today.
Did you know?
Report. I sometimes get some very interesting emails, and I'm going to post up some of those. But I want to talk again about NutriMeds. Tim will be on in a few minutes, and we're going to continue talking about NutriMed applications, ones we don't always talk about. For example, the use of Veda-Way to protect your kidneys and your small vessels and restore the tetrahydrobiopterin, and bioLVR and Semethyl. So Veda-Way, bioLVR, Semethyl, power methyl B12, and superfolate. And if you don't restore nitric oxide, which you can test with Berkeley test strips, it's very hard to restore your vascular health. We need to protect your artery wall, too, from oxidative stress with carnosine, Nutritrella, cell detox glutathione, and Regenerex. And it stops all the different free radicals. We need to restore your lipid functionality and your energy metabolism in your artery wall with ultrathymine B1 and Her Majesty's Royal Jelly, as well as the support for mitochondria, as Nutridyne, etc. We talked earlier about mitochondrial catalyst, mitocarnitine, VascuCare, which is a propionyl L-carnitine, and CoQ10, ubiquinol, CoQ10. When we're trying to restore the health of your tendons, ligaments, and connective tissues, Tendon Mender, Collagen Max, and Mountain Red Velvet are the biggies. For your joints, Collagen Max, Mountain Red Velvet, and of course the use of Joint Performance, extremely important, that combination. When you're trying to restore electrolytes and your energy metabolism of your muscles, you want to be taking VascuCare, CoQ10, and of course the use of our D-ribose, ALC1000, and our new product we have called NADH, nicotine adenine dinucleotide hydride. If you use that with D-ribose, it literally is an instantaneous resurrection along with ALC1000 in your mitochondria. So I make my Sports Energy Light drink, and I'll be doing that in about 10 minutes when I get a break at the top of the hour. I put in one sachet of the Sports Energy Light in a big 22-ounce kind of thermos. I'll put in there as well a filtered pure water system water, a teaspoon of Brain Mag, a teaspoon of Calm Mind, a teaspoon of the D-ribose and ALC1000, and of course take tablets of the NADH, and that combination with the Sports Energy Light is amazing in terms of energizing, protecting electrolytes, and de-stressing the body. We have, of course, the nutraceuticals in selenium cruciferate. It's a very major thing to try to protect your body from oxidative stress. We have, of course, the Vitamineral Max Minerals Plus, but we have some specialized minerals, chromium cruciferate and selenium cruciferate. And I really strongly recommend these. And one of the most powerful, if you're trying to resurrect your ability to reverse depression, bioLVR and Semethyl and then Power Muscle B12 and superfolate, because conversion of your neurotransmitters is dependent on that and on some trace minerals which are present in our Vitamin Mineral Max Minerals Plus, especially the Minerals Plus. So if you're trying to correct depression, we're looking at the biochemical pathways. We want to correct that. If you're trying to block radiation, like from Fukushima, we have a radiation protocol with Nutridyne, Nutritrala, NutriDefense, and Power C. The Power C is amazing. When we have people with cancer, we give them our malignant arrest, high-dose Power C, 60 gram a day at least. And for every 3 Power C, 1 full vitamin K2. K2 literally will turn off not only joint inflammation, but it actually terminates DNA damage, makes cells that are beyond repair commit apoptosis, and helps the body regenerate organs, helps regenerate bone. So vitamin K2, very important for what we call apoptogenesis. Basically helps to stimulate the body to get rid of old damaged tissue and replace it with new healthy tissue and cells and organelles. The Power C is one of our more popular supplements because it's the only neutral vitamin C in the world. Is a mixed mineral ascorbate, a calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium ascorbate. One of my nutraceuticals I really like is Posinol, which I have a bottle literally sitting on my desk. It's an adaptogenic herb that's the Western version of an herb from China. And Posinol, it sounds like positive, because if you take it, 2 soft gels 3 times a day, you're going to be thinking very positive, literally bulletproof from stress, along with our magnesium like Brain Mag and Calm Mind. So Posinol, excellent. 2 soft gels 3 times a day. We have the Omega Supreme, the highest quality enteric-coated omega-3 EPA DHA in the world, that's tested every batch for heavy metals and has never had solvents. We have Omega Supreme Krill, if you want to rebuild your brain, your blood vessel walls, protect your arteries from oxidative stress, and heal from previous areas of plaque, which is basically damaged artery walls. We have, of course, the Nutrifos and Neurogen, which we use for solid organs, but you need the Minerals Plus and Copper Regenamax if you're going to have optimal healing. And if you've got elevated insulin, I recommend the Dibetaline, Biotin Plus, Chromium Cruciferate, and Minerals Plus, which, of course, contains all the extra minerals for lowering insulin resistance, and Leptin Metabolic. And if you're trying to mobilize fat, you want to take our Green Tea Select and Lipo Flush, which will mobilize fat out of fat stores, because lipid metabolism and cytokine inflammation is definitely elevated. We have, of course, we're going to be relaunching not only a special plasma air filter system, which is going to be separate from our ozone machine, and the ozone machines you can use with mild hyperbaric oxygen. And, of course, I talked to Bruce McKeeman. We are still working out the details of our franchise. And for those people who are still interested, keep contacting us. We'll be working that out. The franchise is a vehicle, and this is how I conceive it in my imagination, whether it's in Russia, China, America, Canada, any other country, would contain a van with 1 or more vertical grand dive hyperbaric chambers. It would have a advanced, probably, bioplasm ATLRS, and maybe the most advanced, the Metatron, with a hunter-seeker function. For diagnosis, we have a QRMA, 1 or more QRMA machines for looking at the mineral content and organ function of every organ. We would have a complement of all the nutraceuticals, so once we've diagnosed what the issues are, we can actually make a smoothie out of the nutraceuticals for you. There would be a treatment option where we could create a we call a healing frequency field based on the hydrophones for the Metatron, ATLRS, or Bioplasm NLS. So we can actually create a healing energy field around your body while you're getting mild hyperbaric oxygen, ozone, and other possible trace gases, which we won't discuss right now. Looking into helium and nitric oxide, but the main thing is ozone is amazing. When you combine it, I just reviewed a lot of literature, and ozone and mild hyperbaric oxygen therapy is remarkable for healing almost any health condition you can imagine. And in fact, after the show today, my first thing I'm going to do after I return calls is to get a session while I'm returning emails in my vertical grand dive, which is about, I'd say, 6 feet across, 5.5 feet high, big enough for 2 people. There's chairs and a small desk in the chamber, so it's not small. Has a nice vertical window and a horizontal window, and it's translucent, so it stays light. You can actually turn the walls into music by plugging it into the unit. It's got, I forgot one of those lights, one of our real nice online, I would call online patient, our customers, sent one from his home, which is a special light that actually will change lights inside. It's really nice. So I tell people there's lots of simple things you can do at home to tremendously recover from any kind of health condition, diabetes, let's say you had chemotherapy, or you have peripheral neuropathy, or you've got chronic fatigue syndrome. We can give you the right substances as well as the right nutraceuticals. And I have a quick caller, John from Austin. You had a question. Go ahead. John, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, Dr. Deagle. I was calling regarding if you had anything, recommendations for lymphedema.
Is it lymphedema is it post-operative or post-radiation, or what's lymphedema result from?
They're not sure.
Was it located in both feet or just one limb?
Both.
The most common cause of lymphedema is mild congestive heart failure, that's easy.
They checked, and no congestive heart failure. They did a scan through my leg.
And there's no venous blockage of your veins, right? They did do what's called a NEVA scan, which is an arterial venous scan. It's non-invasive, and it'll tell you if you have venous or arterial disease.
Correct.
What I'd recommend you do, John, is call the office if you've been a customer, and I'll return the call. If not, then just drop me a quick email, and I'll email you back. If you have a phone number and a time window, I'll try to get back to you in a time window. But the best thing is to drop us a call and an email with the details, and I'll try to come up with nutraceuticals. The first thing with lymphedema is we want to give you nutraceuticals to get your lymphatic vessels working. It's things like our VascuCare, CoQ10, ubiquinol, improve what we call the mitochondrial function of the venous, because the veins, literally, the lymphatic system actually moves the lymphatic fluid by peristaltic waves, the same as your blood vessels. So it's to restore your mitochondria. So VascuCare, CoQ10, ubiquinol, CoQ10, things like, and our VascuCare carnitine, use of the cardiovasc, etc. Those are found